all those joining since we've had some interruptions already.
Okay. Hello, Ima. Hello, Ima.
Yeah.
Ima, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. So please be checking your WhatsApp. I will send you messages.
All right.
All right. I will check my WhatsApp. You said I should be checking my WhatsApp.
Yeah, so be frequent there. I will send you messages. I will let you on certain things.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Let's start. I think we can start.
Okay.
What do you?
Please, I need you to mute yourself on the call.
Come again. Hello,
Please
Godwin.
mute yourself on the call.
Okay.
It's
If it doesn't pass, we have about
14
participants on. We will be starting in next 2 or 3 minutes. I was hoping we'll make at least 20 people before we start, but yeah.
Ombudsman. Ombudsman.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So, a good morning, a good afternoon to you, wherever you're joining us from in the world. This is Jobs by Ads webinar. It's our maiden webinar, and it's powered by BRICS Africa. BRICS Africa Consulting is indeed the force behind this. In the next few minutes, we'll be hearing from the CEO himself, who would be telling us more about BRICS Africa, and then quickly set the ball rolling for our webinar. We want to take this opportunity to welcome you all, and this hopefully would be a very insightful discussion. We want you to relax. The only rule would be to make sure that you are muted if you're not talking, and feel free to raise your hands if you have a question. As we start, we have two guests who will be speaking to the subject matter, which I'll be introducing very soon. Now, our two guests will be giving 5 minutes each to speak to us on the subject. Now, after that, we'll roll into a series of questions to make it a little more interactive. Now, after they answer the questions, we'll give participants or our audiences 2 questions per each question we ask our guests. So beyond those 2 questions, if you have some more questions, I can assure you we'll take care of it, but we would want you to type it in the comment section. And then hopefully we'll pick it up and we would answer them at the tail end of the discussions. So we wouldn't leave any stone unturned. Don't worry at all. We also have our partners on board. Now, these are people who BRICS Africa, and for that matter, Jobs by Us have been working with for some time now. They are mainly businesses, other businesses. Now, they have reps who will be speaking to us and helping us have a clearer understanding of what it is that the job market requires of us as young graduates, as young people who intend to enter the job market or are working on switching between jobs. You would have something for whatever your need is today, that I can assure you. So I wouldn't waste too much time. There are a few important personalities I would allow my CEO to introduce as well. And so I think right about now, I would want to welcome Mr. Jacob Eje-Chumesi, CEO of BRICS Africa, CEO Jobs by Us, to take us through his introductory message. Thank you.
Thank you, Ima. Hello, everyone. Good morning once again.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. Sorry. I trust we are all doing well, and the day has gone on very well with you. So as Ima rightly said, this event is powered by BRICS Africa Consulting, supported by our able partners, such as ON Media, which is run by our own Udilia in Tiamwa. I think she has joined. You will hear from her in due time. It is also supported by Quest Medical Imaging, Fast Track Tutors, Baobab Insurance Brokers, a couple of companies, Blispa in Aesthetic and others. Yeah, so BRICS Africa Consulting, as the name goes, is a consulting agency that provides a wide range of consulting, business advisory, financial services to organizations, especially the small, medium enterprises in Ghana and beyond. Yeah, so Jobs by Us is a product of BRICS Africa Consulting, and Jobs by Us came in as a result of the teeming unemployment rate that is disturbing Ghana. Today, everywhere you find yourself, you realize that a lot of people, graduates, nurses, a whole lot of professionals completed school, and yet getting employment is difficult. And as a result of that, a lot of these professionals are even running away from the country. So you can see that today the brain drain rate is very, very high. So just by BRICS Africa Consulting, as part of our strategic goal, came up with this idea of finding a way that we can also solve the problem of unemployment and graduate unemployment and all that. So this Job by Us was birthed or came out to support employers who wants to recruit talented individuals to run their organizations. And then also for the job seekers, those who, for one reason or the other, whether you have a degree, you don't have a degree, whether you've gone to school, you have not gone to school, no matter the kind of job that you want, Jobs by Us has been created to support people of such nature. So the purpose of this webinar is to let you know that Job by Us exists. So permit me to quickly read for you the kind of services that Jobs by Us provide. In terms of job seeker services, we provide services ranging from job vacancies, CV reviews, coaching, interview prep or interview preparation, aptitude tests for coaching, career transition advisory, internship and attachment opportunities, a whole lot of stuff. So if you are a job seeker and for one reason or the other, you want to transition from one job to another, Job by Us, supported by Brits Africa Consulting and our partners, will be able to help you in whatever dimension that you need. In terms of corporate entities, business owners, we have services for you in terms of learning and development, recruitment and selection, human resource audit, staff handbook development, payroll preparation, employment contract drafting, development of HR policies, and SOPs. So whatever kind of service that you need as an employer, once you connect with Jobs by Us and Brits Africa Consulting, we'll be able to help you. So I'm welcoming all of you. I believe that by the end of this webinar, by the virtue of the kind of brains that we put together with the likes of our partners, I have no doubt that you will not enjoy yourself. So welcome to this webinar and pay attention and enjoy whatever that we have for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my CEO. That was CEO Brits Africa Consulting and CEO Jobs by Us, Mr. Jakes Ejay Chumesi. Thank you very much. We have a special guest I would want to mention quickly before, in fact, you're all very special to us, very dear to us. But giving honor to whom honor is due, I'm reliably informed that we have the CEO of, and I want to get this right, the CEO of ON Media in the person of Odilia, Mrs. Odilia Ntiamwa. Can you say hi to us, please, if you're here?
I am here, but I can't show my video, so hello to everybody.
That's fine. Welcome. Odilia is doing a lot in this media space, seasoned journalist, and the CV goes on and on. We're very grateful to have you, and we'll hopefully be hearing from her as the webinar progresses. So now I'd want to quickly get into weightier matters. I'm told my camera, I have a dark environment. In fact, I've had to add a couple more bulbs around, but unfortunately, this is what I'll be able to give you today. So, like was announced, and like you saw in our ads, we have two very important personalities in our midst who'll be taking us through the question and answer, and obviously they would also be looking at giving us some briefs on the subject matter. These are people we sourced from very, will I say, in fact, if we begin to tell the story behind how we got some of them, you'd be surprised, but I guess that will be for another time. Like you've been informed, we have lawyer Kennedy Apenyin, and fortunately, we have Mrs. Yvonne Enam Ahli, who would also be part of our guests or discussants. And I would want to take this opportunity to quickly read their profile quickly so that we know exactly who we're dealing with. So I think I'll start with a lady. Madam Yvonne or Mrs. Yvonne Enam Ahli. She has an MSc and an MA. She also has chartered a human resource as a human resource professional. Yvonne Ahili is a highly accomplished strategic human resource management professional with about a decade of hands-on experience driving business growth and transformation. She's currently the people and culture manager for West Africa for the SMEC International Limited. She is also an executive coach and team player with natural leadership skills. She has excellent verbal and written communication skills with the ability to execute recruitment plans as well as design learning and development manuals and programs. She has worked with and consulted for several multinational organizations. Her area of expertise include learning and development, talent acquisition, leadership development, psychometric testing, coaching, and HR auditing. Yvonne holds a master's degree in business decision management from Coventry University in the UK. She is also a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Practitioners, Ghana, CHRMP. She's an ISO certified professional with experience in conducting HR audits. She has executive certificate in professional coaching. She is a licensed assistant psychologist and also holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Ghana. So, Mrs. Yvonne Ahili, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So next would be our seasoned consultant. And the good news is he's one of our consultants at BRICS Africa and very much part of the brain behind Jobs by Africa. Our lead consultant, Kennedy Apeying, or lawyer Kennedy Apeying, is a professional accountant with over a decade of industry experience working with various accounting softwares, including QuickBooks Online. In fact, he's one of our trainers here at BRICS. He has helped notable not-for-profit organizations such as Amnesty International Ghana, Edu Sports, Human Rights Advocacy Center, and a non-profit international school, American International School. He helped them migrate their books of accounts from a manual accounting system to QuickBooks Online. Kennedy holds an MBA in accounting from the University of Ghana, an LLM from BPP University in the United Kingdom, an LLB from Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA, and a bachelor's degree from the University of Education. Additionally, Kennedy is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and also holds a Project D Pro certification. Kennedy currently works as the head of operations at Edu Sports, a UK charity, and oversees grant management and reporting. So, lawyer Kennedy Apeying, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nee. I'm really grateful to be here.
Good to have you. Good to have you. So we'll quickly zoom into the questions. And just by way of reminder, we want to remind you that we'll be asking them various questions and would allow them to give us answers. As they do that, we would permit 2 other follow-up questions from you, the participants. We'll just do 2 at a time so that if you have any other questions, we would ask you to feel free to drop it in the comment box. We'll take it up and then we would make sure they are answered at the tail end of the webinar. So there shouldn't be a problem at all. Okay, once again, if you are not asked to speak, please do well to mute yourself. All right. So I'd want us to, before we start the questions, I think I'll take Mr. Apeying or Lawyer Apeying first for the next 5 minutes to tell us about the subject matter and what to expect in this short webinar.
Can I go?
Kennedy, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I was just asking if I can proceed.
Please do. Please do.
Okay, thank you so much. And sorry, everyone, I have this little minion crawling around me. So, you know, it's vacation time. So if you see him in the background, no cause for alarm. I'm glad to be here this afternoon on the topic of the future of work. Work is an essential part of our lives. I mean, per the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, the legal framework, you are entitled to have your SNET number by age of 15. And then at age 16 and then at age 18 are recognized legally to be age groups or age categories that you could have some form of employment. So imagine if you get a job by 16 or 18 and you work till you are 60 before you retire. Some even go as far as 65 and so on and so forth. It means that majority of your years you are working. And if even if you should reduce it to, let's say, our daily lives, on Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, you work. I mean, all of us, we work. As far as we are attaining the age of majority, we work. And so my point is, work forms a major part of our lives, either on daily basis or annually, or even for the rest of our years. Work forms a major part of our lives. But the same work we are talking about hasn't been the same. There was the 18th and 19th century being the rise of the Industrial Revolution, where the basic tenets of work were defined, like who even brought the concept of 8 to 5, you know. Can you please give me a minute? Yes, please. Thank you. So, sorry, my point is, in the 18th and 19th century, work was defined, the basic responsibilities of work, the time frame in which we are supposed to work, and all of that were defined. However, it has evolved from people commuting from one place to the other to work, to now other tools that are helping us to connect better. I'm talking about the internet. And so when we are talking about the future of work today, it is good for us to reflect as to how work has been in the past, how is it currently, and what we are moving towards into the future. And that helps us, this discussion helps us as people who are job seekers, as people who are in employment trying to jump ship to other career areas, what the preparation should be, and you know what opportunities exist currently, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Apeying. That indeed was insightful. Where am I getting this? Okay. So I think we'll allow Mrs. Ahili to talk to us on the same subject.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. It's a pleasant opportunity to be here again. I would briefly say that remote work or hybrid work will be a prominent feature in the future of work. And why do I say so? Somewhere back 2017, when I was working with an IT firm, day in and day out, I saw how stressed the software engineers and the tech guys were, having to commute to work just to come and use an office space and then internet access. day in and day out, it affected their productivity, as much of the time which could have been used to work was used to commute. And so in the place of HR, I had to make a proposal to management. We went through the back and forth because we are now adapting to that. And so management accepted the proposal, and we had about 50% of our staff having to work hybrid or remote. And I'll say that remote work and hybrid work has come to stay and will be a prominent feature in the future of work. When you hear some statistics, for instance, a research by Forbes Advisor tells us 98% of workers expressed the desire to work remotely at least part of the time. And so when you hear those statistics, you think it's so far from Ghana, but I can speak emphatically that Absa Bank and EcoBank currently have a hybrid system where workers come in to the office maybe twice in a week, and the rest of the days they are working from home. And that same report indicated that 16% of companies are currently working fully remotely. And so this statistic shows the feasibility of the models of hybrid work and remote work. And so as an employer or an employee, how do you then prepare yourself for this future where you'd have to work remotely? As an employer, I would say it's important that your workplace policies are adapted to suit such preferences of the employer and the employee. Because if you need your organization to thrive, definitely you would want to feature in hybrid work, because some years down the line, most employees would want to work from the comfort of their home, and it would also provide a lot more benefits to you, the employer, as well. And in the World Economic Forum, the report indicates that 6 in 10 workers would need a form of training in order to catch up by 2027. And so at the same time, you would realize that indeed there is nothing much, but in order for you to still remain relevant, you would need to adapt to these changes. And how and where would work be, in the future? I see the office being a meeting hub, basically, where people would just have to, staff will come in for a short meeting, but mainly work would be from home. Meetings or work would mainly be virtual, and managers who are so keen on micromanaging would really need to relook their strategies, because in the near future, they may be outdated. And how would roles be impacted, if I may say? AI would take place. AI definitely cannot fully replace the human touch. And so there are certain segments of work that will be automated, and some roles definitely, due to the advancement of technology, new roles as well will be created. And so it's very relevant that you upskill and reskill in order to be relevant in the future of work. Typically, I would say some roles like tellers, cashiers may be outdated, but definitely the human touch is also relevant. And as organizations move to hybrid work, you realize that data is very key, and most organizations are very sensitive with their data. And so some roles like cybersecurity, data management experts are roles that may also surface in the near future. And I think we'll be delving much into that, but I'll leave you with 2 key skills that you would need to survive in the future of work, and that is adaptability and resilience. You need resilience to wake up from your bed and still sit in your home, in the comfort of your home, and still work and deliver. You need the right infrastructure in place, and you need to push yourself to this limit. And adaptability is key, because you need to adapt and change to the evolving world of work. And so I'll leave everyone with this simple question. Do you think your job will be done the same way you are doing it in 20 years' time? So that's the question I'd want to leave everyone. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Yvonne Ahley. I want to believe that we're taking notes. I want to believe that we're making sure that we glean as much as possible from our guests as they pour themselves out to us on the subject matter. And so without wasting too much time, I think we would jump into the questioning section. So there are a few sections. We've actually put them into various sections so that we can have a better understanding of the issues. The first section will be on general trends and predictions. A few came out when they gave us their opening addresses, but I think this would go to Madam or Mrs. Yvonne Ahli. So what major trends do you foresee shaping the future of work over the next decade?
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. I would say key trends, like I mentioned earlier, artificial intelligence will be key. Automation will definitely define job roles in the near future. And so it's important that we build the right ecosystem in order to still remain relevant in the advancement of technology, AI, and automation. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll ask Lawyer Penin to answer the same question, please.
Thank you, Ni. So in terms of trends that I see a future or a current situation where people are no longer in just singular jobs. Like, let's say you are an accountant and maybe you are just going to work and you come. People are going to have like multiple jobs because the work is gearing towards between the employer and the employee. Everybody is trying to save time and then compact their time to be productive. And that has brought about the different tools that are available to us now. So if you are in the UK, like I believe some of us are, or some of the audience are, you will see that most of the Western countries like the UK are on 5G already. The government of Ghana has actually signed an agreement for a 5G rollout from the beginning of 2025. 5G works like 10 times faster than the 4G we are currently on, and it helps everybody to collaborate remotely. What that means is that you and I will not be commuting from home to the office. In fact, for 2 years, since 2022, I have worked remotely for close to 2 years now. I don't go to an office space at all. We have a team of about 32 people from all over the world. Nobody goes to an office space. Our office is Zoom. Our office is Google Meet. You know, our office is WhatsApp chats. We don't go to any physical office space, and we deliver very impactful. So the future of work, one will be majority of the work, I will say we will be inching towards about 60% of work we have currently moving online, 100%. The 40% are contact job, I would say. They are, you know, like, say, security service personnel, like the soldiers, police, customs. They are doing a physical check, and so they will be commuting physically. Health workers, I haven't seen yet an operation being done remotely on a patient. Some level of
yes, please.
to be with the patients.
Yeah, we are here.
When the rest are maybe guiding the person who is doing the operation. And so health service workers, security service personnel, and then a large more people will work, in person. But things like teaching, like the universities, COVID was a testament where the University of Ghana, for instance, had to move completely to Sakai, and they ran a whole academic year remotely. Nobody went to University of Ghana campus, you know. So teaching, I think I also saw 2 days ago that the Minister for Education was announcing that there will be a rollout of an online senior secondary school in Ghana. So if you're a teacher, really, there wouldn't be the need for you to go to a physical space to go and teach. But gradually, we'll have to build the skills to ensure that we are, let's say, virtual teachers, you know, and it's already happening. Just not to drag it, but I have a list here. In the past, you could go to maybe, like we have Jobs by Us is a website where you go to apply for jobs, and there are other competitors that we are all in the same space. But globally, you have FlexiJobs, you have Upwork, you have People Per Hour, you have Guru, you have TrueLancer, you have TopTal, you have 99 Design, Simply Hired, Craigslist. Those places that I have mentioned, about 10 of them, and I'll put the link here for all of us to go and check when we have the time, you realize that the number of jobs they are advertising, like remote jobs they are advertising, is about 100 times the number of physical jobs that people are advertising. So that is testament of the fact that the future of work is remote work. But in Ghana, like Yvonne is saying, if we are to take it slowly, it will start from hybrid, which people are doing currently. But I must say that already the architecture exists for a majority of people to work 100%, offline, online, without going to the office. That is how I see the future of work.
Should we get worried? What's happening? Hello? Great. So does this call for worry if we're listening to you? Because traditionally we've been used to commuting to work and doing what we need to do and coming back home. Now, if you're saying this is what we should look forward to, what really are you telling us to do? How do we prepare for such an onslaught of whether it's technology or, and does it mean our jobs are at stake? This is just a quick follow-up question.
Back then, I used to be worried that, some jobs will be taken away, a lot of jobs will be taken away through, like what Yvonne cited, AI, automation, and things like that. But I see these days that as some jobs get taken away, which is natural, nobody uses coal anymore, right? Everybody is now with like either solar or this or that. So we ourselves, naturally, we evolve into some things, but work is going to stay. I see that in as much as some jobs are taken away, the new jobs that are created far exceeds the jobs that are being taken away. So I think it's an exciting period. Number one, 10 years ago, you'll be talking about you graduate, you are looking for a job in your home country, like in Ghana. So whether you completed from UCC or KNUST or University of Ghana or any university in Ghana, you were all competing for a government job in your country or, a private job in your country. With what we are talking about, those 10 lists that are put, and I've shared the link, if you click on them, you can sign up to, let's say, Upwork or People Per Hour or Guru, and you'll be employed by somebody who is in India or Pakistan or United States or Brazil, and so on and so forth. And so I would say it's an opportunity because the teaming that we are, let's say, upscaling, they are going to school, having degrees. Where do they go? I see that it was limiting for us to be graduating a lot of people only for them to be competing locally, so that over time we realize that, and that is the truth, there's no politics to it. I haven't seen any government that will come and say that the unemployment rate has dropped drastically. So internal competition was rather heightening the unemployment situation in Ghana. With the internet and remote work and these job platforms, what I see is that once you graduate, let's say you graduate in, let's say, computer science or accounting, for instance, you can completely work as an accountant. I see my brother or my sister, Mr. David, my brother, saying that he's an accountant with over 10 years experience. That's just like me. But I'm sure he will agree with me that an accountant, you will not be looking to work for only companies that exist in Ghana, and that with the right skill, you'll be working for majority of firms, outside the country. So I would say that the avenue that is created for one to be in their own country without having to raise all the money to want to go and travel, but you can stay in your own country and still earn foreign currency by seeking to work for organizations outside your borders, in itself is a gain. And that is one thing that gets me excited. Now, the threat or the challenge, which is not major, it's minor, it's only trying to tell us that we have to do our things well, is that the same way we are saying that the borders are open and that you can get a job. If you are in Ghana, you can get a job wherever you find yourself, whichever country you find yourself with the right skill. It means that somebody in India, somebody in China can also compete for your job in your own country. or the same job that you are looking to get in those other countries. So there's an external competition. So what does that mean for us? It means that that old situation where, when we're coming up, you were brought up as an accountant, you were brought up as a nurse, you were brought up as maybe an IT person. It is no longer the case. You are brought up as a journalist. No, you need to have multiple skills to be able to compete globally, not just in your own country. Take language, for instance. If we are saying you can be employed all over the world, how many major languages exist? So that if you only speak English, it means you cannot go to Southern America where majority of them speak, let's say, Spanish, or Mexico where they have a different language, or say China where they have a different language. It means that if you're a Ghanaian, you need to invest in yourself to speak different languages to be able to tap into those markets. So I think we should do away with the fear and rather embrace it, that it gives us more chance to compete and to sort of like be better at the work we do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have one more follow-up question, and it goes like this. I have had the opportunity to set up an office space in the house to work with my company. So I could work from 7 to 7, I believe. But they refused and would rather prefer you are there in person. How can one benefit from this, even if the employer does not allow? This is from Mr. David. And I think I would let Mrs. Ahli take the question if she understands.
Okay, so yes, thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, there are space in Ghana. Employers are gradually catching up with the new trends. And it's not surprising that an employer would want to see you in their office, because most managers we see today are micromanagers. And so when they cannot see your face, they cannot believe that you are working. And so I believe that a time will come, like I said, ABSA is now some partly remote, hybrid. And so I believe that the employer would also come to that realization and awakening, because mainly everybody wants things to be simple and fast. And so if the employee can prove that I can still be at home and my work will be done as fast as it can, I believe that the employer will be open for that. And I see another question from Elizabeth, that as an employer, how would you build trust with your clients? Like I said, back in 2017, when we had to implement a form of hybrid system, it was key that we put in certain checks in place. So for instance, we had to design timesheets where employees who are working from home and are not in the office would input their time and their tax. And so this will keep you, the employer, engaged to know that, okay, though I can't see Lizzie in the office, in her timesheet, this is what she's doing at the moment. And you would, at the end of the day, is she delivering what, when you are measuring her performance, is she working? If she's working, then really there's no need, because as an employer, it's going to cut down your operational costs. If Lizzie comes to the office, you are going to pay rent, water bills, she's going to use the light, she's going to use the internet connectivity, which you would pay for anyway. And so if you can put the right infrastructure in place at home, I think most of employers now are worried, because I say I'm working from home. Everybody knows I'm home. They call me when it's 9 working hours and I cannot be reached. I'm not online. Nobody can access me. And so it leaves a lot of mistrust for the employer to assume that you are safely home and not working. And so I believe what all this calls for is investment in digital literacy and STEM education. And so you can't say, oh, I'm not tech savvy. As for me, I don't like those IT digital things. You need to invest in digital literacy, because some time to come, like Kennedy was saying, you really don't have to move, but you can be anywhere and work for anywhere. I mean, for any company in Ghana, abroad. And so digital literacy will be key. And so employees should invest in themselves. Like I was saying, that the research in the World Economic Forum, they said 6 out of every 10 employees would need some form of training to still be relevant by 2027. And so I don't think you would want to wait till then but rather invest in digital literacy now, in STEM education now as an employee, and as an employer, build the right policies, the right systems, the right infrastructure to make this very feasible for you and the employees as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very insightful. And there's so much information flying right now. I want to remind you again, make sure you're taking notes, and hopefully this should be able to impact your career goals positively. Before we go on with the questions, I would want to quickly mention a couple of our partners who are present here. I've cited some of them already, but yes, we have Bliss Spa and Aesthetics, a very close partner, led by Dr. Michael Yao Jan, who I have seen on screen. Welcome, Dr. Jan. Another of our partners, Elizabeth Dean Limited, company that prefers all manner of insurance solutions. So we can also get in touch with them. We also have Fast Track Tutors, one of our babies here at BRICS Africa. Fast Track Tutors would take care of anything research. They would help with assignments, project work, whatever challenges you have. They're more than willing to help you put things together. And then ON Media, whose CEO we introduced earlier. We also have Quest Medical Imaging, who are also here represented, and then Alpha Delivery. If you want to get your stuff from one point in Accra to the other, then obviously Alpha Delivery is the way to go. So now back to our questions. And I want to keep encouraging you. Let your questions keep coming. We will definitely be attending to them as we go on. Now, I want to move to the next set of questions on skills and education. Before I ask this question, I want to remind all of you, especially employers or business owners present here, that if you seem not to understand or know where to start from in terms of putting the right infrastructure or structures in place for the future of work, then Jobs by Us is the company to talk to. We have a lot of expertise available in this area, and we are well positioned to help you get yourself ready for the future of work, the uncertainties there are in, and the advantages you could take advantage, you could grab in order to achieve these goals. So feel free to get in contact with us after this webinar. Now, so this question, like I said, is on skills and education. What new skills do you believe will be essential for workers in the future? And I would want Lawyer Apenying to attempt this, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nee. So I will I'll highlight 3 key skills, and I'll relate it to a question that is being asked in the chat. So the first skill that I feel is very important, it's basic, but we miss it, in the Ghanaian education system, is language, communication. But communication, I'm reducing it to language because if you pick Africa that has 54 countries now, 21 of those countries are Anglophone countries. Francophone countries, and the remaining countries are English-speaking countries. So it tells you that if you are in Ghana and you only speak English, you only have about half of the African countries that is a job market for you. All the other works that require you to speak French, if you don't have French, you're automatically out. So most of the UN jobs that will say that you should speak English and be able to speak an additional UN language. There are local languages. Our local languages are not part of the UN languages. So the local languages are indigenous languages, but there are also international languages that are part of UN. So I would say that if you are graduating or if you are struggling for a job, upskill in the language area. If you know only English, make sure you attend French classes as well, at least basic, if you are looking for about it in the African sub-region. But if you are looking at it globally, Chinese and Spanish are very popular language options, so you can delve into any one of them. Now, we only know a language and then we restrict ourselves, like it will take a lot of time for us to learn. But if you don't start from somewhere, you are not going to get there. So at least there are language grades. If you are very, a native speaker for English, because English is our national language as Ghanaians, then maybe you have basic in French. That puts you ahead of somebody else that you are competing with for the same job. You get what I'm saying? So language is one key skill for anyone. It doesn't matter whether you are an accountant, it doesn't matter whether you are a teacher, it doesn't matter whether you are a construction worker. Language for me is basic, and as many languages as you can, learn them. I wish I could roll back my years, 20 years more. I'll only do languages. I won't even do accounting or anything. I'll just do languages. Just by understanding and communicating with people in the languages they speak, you can get a job right there, and a very good one at that. So that's one. The other two skills, I'm sure my colleague Yvonne has touched on. Digital skill is very important. So you can have somebody who has all the skill. I met a very brilliant accountant who can explain to you all the standards, and I'm offering him to come and work in a remote role. They don't even know how to move the mouse. Okay, it was sad because this is a job that could just fetch you $2,000, working 37.5 hours a week, They can't move the mouse. They don't know how to use their online accounting tools like QuickBooks, like Sage, and so on and so forth. And so it's not enough for you to know just the bookish way of the training, but also be abreast with the modern way the same job is being done. So nobody is using Excel or vouchers to prepare accounting books anymore. Where I work, we scan, like we do all the receipting, everything is done through QR codes, and then we scan it, evidence that the purchase has been done, you flag it into the software, it is recorded, the transaction is posted, and so on and so forth. You might go through a whole maybe ICA or ACC or CIMA, and nobody will teach you any of that. So be conscious of the fact that the job is not being taken away. The way your profession, the same work is being done is what is changing, not the work. So accountants are always going to be there. Journalists are always going to be there, but what medium are they using to do the work is what differs. So language, and also be abreast with modern technology as it relates to the professions that we have chosen. That is two. And finally, Yvonne touched on that in the beginning. Online work or hybrid work calls for a lot of resilience. So we have been successful in ensuring that you don't wake up at, let's say, 4 a.m. If you live in Adenta, you want to make it to Central Business District. Hybrid work will give you the advantage, or remote work will give you the advantage of no need to wake up at 4 or 5 to prepare, get your kids ready, and so on and so forth. With my remote work at Breaks Africa and also EduSport, both companies I work remotely. I will sleep, I wake up at 7:30, brush my teeth, turn on my laptop, and I will start working. So I don't need to buy a vehicle. I don't need any of that to commute. I don't have to worry about the traffic situation, nothing. That is the power it gives you, the employee. And that hour or those hours, I can also use it to do some other remote work outside these two organizations that I work for, which sometimes I do. So, but then the challenge is, it's not only the skill you need to build your resilience in terms of working at the speed that this new type of work requires us to have. It means that you need to be disciplined and say, you are going to wake up at that time, join a meeting, know the calendar very well, you know what time you are supposed to have a meeting with somebody, and so on and so forth. That resilience you can't teach. You have to have, or nobody can teach you that. You have to have your own discipline to be able to do that. I will touch on the infrastructure bit maybe as we go down the line. But for me, on a personal level, have a very good language control, as many languages as possible. There are popular languages like Chinese, like Spanish, like French in our own Africa. that will put you ahead of the competition. And then I mentioned your digital skills. No matter the profession you are in, adding a digital skill is a plus for you and puts you ahead of the competition. Then you build resilience.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lawyer Apeyin. Again, lots of things to think about here. I would want to ask a follow-up question. So this one is it says, as an employer, how do you build trust with your clients when you operate fully remote or fully remote work because there's no physical space for them to see? How do you build trust? And any other thing you think will be required, those soft kind of skills that will be required to be able to get you off the ground as someone who wants to be part of this futuristic environment. So I think I'll give this to Mrs. Ahle. Hello, Yvonne. Okay, I think Lawyer Apeyin, please, if you can take the question.
Sorry. Yeah. This is Odelia. Sorry, Lawyer. Since you were talking about digital skills, I just wanted to make a quick comment. In addition to the contributions you have made, as in Yvonne and yourself. And so one of the places where almost every employer, especially employers that are really using digital platforms, is on LinkedIn. And I noticed that there are people still in this age and time who are either looking for employment or are looking for growth, are looking for the opportunity to connect with the next possible jobs, who are not on LinkedIn. And even if they are on LinkedIn, are quite very dormant there. So LinkedIn is like a fantastic place to actually optimize your opportunities. And you can do that easily, being a thought leader in something. So, for example, I don't find a lot of thought leaders in accounting, in finance, especially on LinkedIn. And so if you are in these two areas of specialization, one of the things you can do is to, on a consistent basis, contribute your knowledge on these platforms, and you become like the go-to person. If there's a consultancy job that people are looking for consultants, you get it. If there is a new opening in an institution, you can easily be called upon. There are so many times that being a consultant in the media space currently, I consistently get people tagging me with opportunities in the media consultancy space. It means that in that area, you have distinguished yourself as an expert there, and you can be called upon at any time for anything. And so in optimizing your digital tools, being visible and also connecting in terms of your networks is also very important. So I just wanted to chip this in before Lawyer come on.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mrs. Odelia Ntiamwa. Earlier on, we weren't hearing from Mrs. Ahle. Are you?
Yes, I'm on now.
Did you get the question?
No, please.
Okay, let me quickly get you that question. Okay, it says, as an employer, how do you build trust with your clients when you operate fully remote, or when you operate fully remote work because there's no physical space for them to see? So you're a business owner, you're working from home. People seem to have questions. You don't have a business address. What if something happens? You know, so how do you build trust?
Okay, so I mean, like I said, the remote work is gradually catching up, but you don't create room for doubts. That is one. And so your systems your infrastructure, your response time must be seamless. If you don't have an office space and you are working, it doesn't give room for excuses. And so that is what will give the clients the confidence to still trust and work with you, because you are still delivering on time. You are still you are not giving any excuses. You are not giving any room for doubt. And for instance, your work has to do with internet connectivity, and you'd have to be accessible 24/7. If you'd have to get a gen set, because we know that in Ghana here your guys can go off at any time, so you'd have to get a gen set on the side, so that when your client is calling you, maybe after 1 minute they can't get you, the next minute then you are going to lose your business, because already you don't have a physical brick and mortar location. And so make sure that you build the right infrastructure in place to have seamless processes. And that is the only way you can build trust with your clients.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I believe that whoever asked that question, you've been answered. So we'll go on with our questioning. I want to remind you that as we go on, we'll be bringing in some of our partners, like Odilia came in, and they would also be adding their voices to what we are discussing. Okay, so the next question is, how should educational institutions adapt their curricula to prepare students for these changes? I don't know if we have any educational institutions here, but I hope the word gets out to them. So I'll give this to Kennedy Apanyi.
It's quite a difficult subject. I mean, I have a theory that what education is seeking for us to have and what work requires of us are two different things. But sometimes the employer thinks it's the education institution's responsibility to equip the employees with certain skills. I beg to differ, but that's a discussion for another day.
Okay.
That's a discussion for another day. I think, sorry, my child interrupted me a bit. But I feel that the education institutions can focus on key things. One, the fundamental, every profession has an origin. Like if you're an accountant, it doesn't mean you can start being an accountant from just knowing QuickBooks, like the modern tools we are talking about. The bread and butter of accounting stems from, assets is equal to capital plus, that's accounting equation, whatever. So the institutions are going to teach those foundations. Are you with me? The institutions are going to teach those foundations, the accounting standards, what have you. If you are if you are seeking to have a career in law, it's always going to change. It's always going to not change. Like you need to have an LLB, which will ground you into the foundation of law, the constitutional law, the contract laws, the law of torts, the criminal law, what have you. And that will propel you to go to Mokola or any law school in the world for that matter. So that will not change. I think it is you, the individual, that knows where you want to go. And so you have to sort of like ask yourself. And these days, like I love what Yvonne said. These days, there are AI tools where you can even ask them, if I want to be in this career, like they will give you an answer. And 90% of the time, the answer is accurate. You understand? If you are not asking them futuristic questions and you are asking them of like a procedural thing, you go to any of the AI platforms and you ask that question. So it can chart a career for you, the skills that are required. It will tell you all of that. It's not lost on us. So for you to sort of like say that the education institutions should sort of like tailor their lessons to the specific needs of the different employers, that is not possible. What is possible is that they will teach the general, but you, the individual in school, have to tell yourself that when you start from, let's say, level 100 in a university or a college of education or a nursing school, you are not only limiting yourself to the education or the teaching and learning you are receiving in that institution. I can use myself as an example. I was enrolled in uni undergrad many years ago, and then we had people that would hold our hands and tell us that, okay, in addition to your degree, get this, you understand? So whilst I was doing my degree, I was also enrolled in a professional course. Today, you can be enrolled in a degree program and be doing the language I was talking about, for instance. You don't expect the institution to give you that additional skill. That is not possible because the course you sign up for does not include that. So essentially what I'm saying is that if you, as far as you are setting yourself as an employee, you need to identify the career you are venturing into, what skills that are required, which ones can your university give you, which ones clearly can your university not give you, where do you get those ones? Are you with me? So that is what I think we should look at it. And if you look at this, even somebody that was commenting very well on in the chat that said that he's a professional teacher. Bear with me. Yes, I'm a professional educator with more than a decade experience. I have a Bachelor of Arts in English Language Education. I've had training in AI prompt engineering with ALS. So ALS, you have Generations, you have Coursera, you have a lot of online platforms where you yourself can go on and sign up, look at specific skills that you can build in that regard. You don't expect the university to build that up for you. So sorry, I'm not defending the unis, but I feel we are talking about jobs here, and it is our individual responsibility to ensure we have the right skills.
Wow. Thank you, lawyer. And I have the questions are building up, so I think I'll do the two at a go so that we can cover them. So I have a question from
Emmanuel. I would wanted to add up to the educational institution. Okay.
Please do.
So, in line with what Kennedy said, the onus lies on the individual as well. But I believe that our educational institutions today are gradually evolving their curriculum. Because if you bear witness with me, your children right now in school have extracurricular activities they are doing. And some of them are skill-based. They do STEM, they do robotics. Some are even doing extra like ballet, dancing, and all others. Some do AI, STEM education. And I believe that gradually, even international bodies like the MasterCard Foundation, the World Bank Group, they see that gap in Africa. And so they are also investing in STEM education in Africa. And so I believe that gradually our educational institutions also need to evolve their curriculum to include some of this digital literacy, AI, STEM, robotics into their curriculum as well, so that we don't have to wait to get to uni now that you are looking for a job before you now build some of these skills. So I believe that our educational system as well has a role to also play. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I wanted to also quickly add something.
Please do.
Okay, so I think that there's a lot going on in the educational system currently already. So, for example, when you go to Ashesi University, a lot is going on there to make you as someone who can go into entrepreneurship. And even if you don't go into entrepreneurship and you are going to work in a normal corporate system, you have an entrepreneurial mindset of owning your space, making sure that you do more than requires in your role. So that is working fantastically well. There's actually a body currently in Africa, and I think it's being led by Ashesi University, on how the model in Ashesi can be replicated in a lot of the universities across Africa. And they have consistent meetings in Ghana and outside Ghana that is brought all the universities together to work on what they can do, how they can model what has worked in Ashesi and other places. There is also Academic City, but having mentioned all of these, all the universities currently also, especially in the business schools, have like hubs where a lot of things are happening. And like the first speaker spoke about, a lot of the onus also lies on you to discover what is happening in your university and take advantage. So for example, myself, I read geography as my first degree, but I ended up going to do journalism because I found Radio University as a place to go and learn when I was at the University of Ghana. So there could be opportunities existing in your university that you have not discovered. And it would be very good if you could open your eyes or ask critical questions on what opportunities exist and how you can plug in. And then also, there are huge opportunities for a lot of young people now between the ages of 18 to 35. They exist all over the world. The UK Embassy, the British Council has like enormous opportunities sitting there for young people to do your masters, to do several programs. The US Embassy also has like enormous opportunities under YALI and the IVLP program and all of that. So there's so many programs sitting in the embassies and also sitting in the universities that you can take advantage of. So you just have to be, you have to think wide, search widely, and key into some of these.
Thank you very much, Odelia. Very insightful. Very insightful. Yes, we're recording this webinar, and we'll do well to make it available to all participants who registered. So I'd want to go back to a couple of questions, please. So this question says, I am a secretary. I am good at report writing, minutes, proofreading, etc. Naturally, I'm good at writing. Kindly throw more light on how I can take advantage of the remote work. Thanks. This is from Kweku. So, Mrs. Ahili, can you quickly answer that, please?
Interestingly, hearing what Kweku says he does, I just thought of Grammarly. Grammarly is an AI tool which can do proofreading, writing, and all those things without any human interference. And so my advice would be Kweku should also consider reskilling or upskilling to make sure that he acquires other relevant skills in addition to what he does. And then it will be that would make it very easy for him to be open to other opportunities as well. There's feedback.
Okay. Thank you. Kweku, I hope you've been answered. It's no joke. This thing seems to be taking all our jobs away, but yes, let's upskill. Let's see how best we can develop ourselves so that we can rather take advantage and not become victims of this new future or this new normal. Okay, so the next question. I don't know if that's the one that Lawyer Penin read earlier. I'm a professional educator with more than a decade experience. I have had training in AI prompt engineering.
I think that was answered by
that was it. Okay, so the next question would be...
let me just add a piece to what I was saying in relation to his specific. So Ezekiel, you will see that if I'm you, I would... these days on most of the remote or freelance job portals like Upwork, I don't know if you are on there, or Guru, or even Truelancer. I don't like Truelancer very much, but Upwork and Guru, they have people looking for like humans, not, even though Yvonne threw more light on the fact that AI tools exist to actually do the proofreading and things like that. But I think one thing that AIs suffer is humanizing their writing, so the AIs mostly write mechanically. So you are able to know whether, I review a lot of job applications, I'm able to tell whether the application was drafted purely by an AI or it was a human being that wrote it. So Ezekiel, what I'm saying is with your background, I think one area you can add to what you are currently doing is to hop onto these job websites, the freelance website, where you are being like a curator or a proofreader for a work that already exists. And you might find somebody that's already publishing books, or they want somebody to even help them write afread. They have the story, but they don't know the correct wording to actually start it with, and so on and so forth. And my experience on those portals is that, see, Ghanaians, mostly we want quick action. Like when you refer people to those sites, they think they go on today, they register, and tomorrow they have a job. No. When I signed up for, let's say, Upwork, I was lucky, it took me like a month and a half. But every day I visited, every day I looked at what was being advertised, and I kept applying, I kept being rejected until one day, like I started like getting my first job, then my second job, and now like anytime I want any job on there, I get it. So a lot of patience when you are dealing with these freelance portals too will help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I would want to call one of our partners. And do we have Dr. Jan, please? Dr. Jan, would you want to add your voice to the subject, please? Okay. Trying to get hold of my list. Okay. So another of our partners, we have Mr. Godwin. Godwin is a social media expert. In fact, he's the social media power behind Jobs by Us. Our campaigns and everything has been done by him. We'll give him a maximum of 2 minutes to give us a quick word, and then we continue. Godwin, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Seima. Good afternoon, everyone. Trying to turn on my camera, but it looks like we have a challenge here.
But Godwin, I don't seem to hear you well.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I was trying to turn on my camera, but I think I have a little challenge here, so I'll just turn that off. So hi, everyone. I would like to talk a bit about the LinkedIn part that I think Mrs. Odelia mentioned earlier. LinkedIn is one powerful tool that you can use as a professional in any career choice that you want to pursue, whether you want to work as an accountant. I mean, every career path that you have, if you know how to use LinkedIn appropriately, you can always get the best jobs, the best offers, the best consulting projects, and all of that over there. And currently, LinkedIn also has a feature which allows you to bid on projects that people put on the platform, which is a great tool. Personally, I've helped quite a number of people optimize their LinkedIn profiles and get a lot of good job offers. So if you are interested in any of that, you want to also have a look at, someone have a look at your profile, your LinkedIn profile, and help you to optimize it, you can always reach out. I'm on the platform, the group the WhatsApp group, so you can just send me a message there and I'll get in touch. Thank you.
Emmanuel, you are muted.
My goodness, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. All right.
Yes.
So I was going to say that the next set of questions is on remote work and flexibility, some of which we have touched on already. However, we would speak to them shortly and then move on. So remote work has become more prevalent post-pandemic. Do you think this trend will continue, and how should companies adapt? I'll give this to Mrs. Ahli.
Okay, so I believe I touched on this area. Like I was saying in my introductory speech, remote work was already in existence. I mean, before COVID. I mean, COVID only accelerated it and brought it to the forefront. And so organizations, like I said, whether you like it or not, for you to have workers, you would need to make your systems, your infrastructure ready for remote work. Most challenges we face today are because employers continue to resist the possibility of remote work. But if 16% of companies are working fully remote, that means it's feasible. It's a system that would work. And so for organizations, it calls for the need to invest in the right infrastructure, the right policies, so that remote work can be conveniently done. Because very soon the worker you would be looking for is negotiating a flexible arrangement, but you need this person to work for you. So if you have the systems in place, you have policies in place that would make it possible for people to work remotely or maybe hybrid, it will be very relevant. And so, yes, it will continue to remain a trend even in the future. And I mean, like I said, in Ghana, it's already advancing. We have ABSA, we have EcoBank. So it's important for organizations to really foster this, put these systems and infrastructures in place so that they can really engage employees, because it is going to happen anyway. And so COVID came, it highlighted it so significantly. People were not moving around, but work was being done. And so it's very important that the right infrastructure is in place, the right policies are in place, the right systems are in place, and then work will flow seamlessly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll quickly jump to the next question. Lawyer Apeyin, what are the potential challenges and benefits of a hybrid work model? Any challenges you would want to quickly pick on?
So I think the number one challenge I see is in the area of, so let me look at the fully remote. With hybrid, it will be going to the office sometimes and then working from home sometimes. So the challenge with hybrid for me will be having to navigate that confusion. Like, is it a fixed period that you have to go to, like the office, let's say Monday and Friday, and then the rest of the days you are working from home, or it's like a shift system? Then it means that you have to prep your body to sort of like respond to that, stop and start in that regard. But for a fully remote job, what I see as a major challenge is we know where we are. We are in Ghana. Our power situation is not stable. Our internet situation is not stable. So the individual will have to incur additional cost of setup. You have to have a backup power. Yvonne spoke about it in the beginning. So you have to have a backup power so that you don't give that excuse of, like the employer is looking for you, and then you are saying you didn't have power, that is why you couldn't join, or you don't have internet, that is why you couldn't join. That will make the employer disappointed, you understand? And that will mean that you will not be in that job for a very long time, So much as we are praising that it has come to make us save a lot of time, it means that you, the individual, must invest in yourself. Apart from the skill, invest in the infrastructure that will enable you to work remotely, like work from home, apart from you having the discipline. So if I'm to use myself as an example, I have almost all the networks in Ghana, so that if Vodafone is down, I have to switch to MTN. If MTN is down, I have to switch to AT. Maybe if I am a bit richer, I'll even sign up to Starlink, to ensure that at all times I have, internet in my home to respond to. Because it's a no-no for you to get a remote job and they are looking for you like Yvonne was explaining, and then you are nowhere to be found. That's a no-no, because how do you explain yourself when major deadlines are missed? So that is one important challenge. And then the power situation is not all gloom. I see a challenge in the area of because we are not used to the remote work, we are not investing in, very able machines, like there are laptops these days that can stay on for 10 hours, 14 hours, 18 hours, but they are expensive. They will be like 30,000 cedis. Okay, so much as we are praising ourselves that, or much as we are advocating for you to go remotely, if you are doing a full remote 40 hours a week, it will require you to, find additional resources to invest yourself in that regard. So for instance, if you don't have a backup power, make sure that your laptop can stay on for that duration, so that if there's even lights out, it doesn't affect you. But that comes at an extra cost. Those are some of the challenges I see. Finally, with remote work, I feel like sometimes if the team are not collaborating well, it slows down the work. So for instance, if we are supposed to have a meeting, they're supposed to be 70 people on here. Currently, there are 51 people on here. So the remaining 19, where are they? If their decision, or if the decision making requires maybe all of us to sort of contribute or share opinions, if they are not there until they connect, you are not able to make, a decision. So that goes to employers to ensure that the infrastructure they put in place, or the architecture they put in place, all their all their employees are able to be available at the same time, just like we do in an office space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll move to the next set of questions. HR and recruitment. So how can HR professionals prepare for the evolving expectations of future employees? How can HR professionals prepare for the evolving expectations of future employees? And that goes to Mrs. Ahili.
Okay, thank you. I mean, in as much as all this is good for the future, it calls for a lot of responsibility on HR, the HR profession as well. And so for HR, I see having to develop personalized employee development plans. I mean, to suit the type of work. For instance, you have an employee who prefers a hybrid system. Another may prefer to fully remote. And so you need to develop personalized plans, even during your recruitment process, for instance. It also gives you access to a wider range of talents. And so the need for HR as well to use maybe AI automated tools during the recruitment process in order to streamline CVs, to cut down on the time you are working. You really need to use AI tools. And that is why, even as an employee or a prospective job seeker, if you don't have one CV that you are using to apply for all jobs, you may have to tailor your CV to suit every job ad you see, because if HR is using AI tools to screen CVs, definitely I'll be putting in certain keywords, and that is what I'll be looking out for in your CV as an employee. And so it calls much for a lot of personalized, employee plans and development options. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think this is where I once again inform you out there, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you would want help with that kind of a setup in order that you will be able to thrive in the marketplace. You don't know how to handle these expectations. Feel free and contact Jobs by Us. Madame Yvonne is definitely one of our consultants in that space. We have other very well-seasoned consultants who will be more than willing to help you set up such a system. I'll go to the next question, please. What innovative recruitment strategies can companies adopt to attract top talent in a competitive market? What innovative recruitment strategies can companies adapt to attract top talent in a competitive market? Mrs. Ali, please take it again, and then after you, I think Lawyer Apenye will take it as well.
Okay, so for companies, I would say one key thing would be maybe virtual job fairs, for instance. And so instead of having to set up at a particular location, you do a virtual job fair, and it even gives you a reach of candidates that are outside your jurisdiction. And of course, that will mean that you would have the right infrastructure in place to even engage people, because it has its positives and its negatives as well. As you do this virtual job fairs, you could get applicants from various locations. They may be highly qualified for the role you may be recruiting for. But yes, indeed, you would also need to create the room for them to be able to do that. There may be educational, maybe internship and mentorship programs that companies can roll out in order to keep people abreast and also make their programs very interactive and AI, focused, so that they can also get a wide range of candidates who can also fit in the roles, because really the market, like Kennedy said, is growing bigger and bigger. And so the need for the recruiter to also develop systems that will make it possible that you could even work with people in diaspora due to the network you have and all that. So that will be it.
Thank you very much. Lawyer Apenye, please.
Oh, I think Odelia gave a very insightful contribution in relation to this, and I'll go by that. We are looking for jobs, right? But how visible are we? The employers are visible. We find them on job sites and things like that. But we forget that when we are recruiting, the people apply, and then we do some investigation about them. Okay, so for employers, it is not enough for you to look at the CV and the cover letter of the person. Go up to, say, LinkedIn, find out how well those employees are doing. You know, what has been their career story so far. And LinkedIn helps you to document that very well. So if you are, let's say, an HR practitioner or somebody in recruitment, I think that your search or your vetting of the applicant must go beyond just the usual or old cover letter and CV. It must also look at the modern day, trends, and like LinkedIn, it's not just I have been maybe a finance person or an astute banker, or no. Even on LinkedIn, like she was saying, your commentary on specific topics will tell everybody whether you are indeed resourced in that area for them to actually bring you on board. So it goes both ways, that whilst we are encouraging employers to take their decisions with regards to recruitment beyond the cover letters and CVs, it's also up to us as job seekers to make sure that we are abreast with the times. We are not only polishing our cover letters, or we are not waiting for the job advert to come before we go and put a cover letter together. We document whatever single thing we are doing on our various LinkedIns. And if we are invited to maybe comment on a particular topic, which LinkedIn does more often than not, you have to spend time to look, maybe like be part of that publication. Finally, if I'm an employer, I would rather, and I have to choose between somebody who has just sent me a cover letter and a CV documenting their illustrious job history and things, compared to somebody that has been writing an article on a particular subject matter that I can proofread and compare and make sure, be satisfied that the person has expert knowledge in that area. I will take the latter. Okay, so CVs and cover letters are no longer the way to go. It is like employment is a learning curve in itself. So the ability of somebody to continuously show you that, or consistently show you that they are there in terms of the knowledge and the skill set to be able to do the job, the more likely they are to be hired. Yes.
Wow. Thank you very much. And yes, let's be taking notes of these very valuable nuggets for career development. Okay. So our next question, our next set of questions will be on diversity and inclusion. I don't know if my technical people cannot give me questions. Okay, I just saw one question. I think before I ask my next set of questions, I will want to do a follow-up question. Please add your name when you send the questions so that we can acknowledge you. So this question is it necessary for an employer to do checks with regards to residential addresses before engaging an employee who is on full remote arrangement? Not sure why they're asking this question, but Mrs. Ahili, can you answer that, please?
Okay, so I think it mostly depends on, most jobs will maybe require that if stated, okay, they want someone in this particular location, maybe your scope of work will require that you are residing. Let me mute Henry. Wow, okay. Okay, so let me start again. I was saying that some jobs or some companies in their advertisements may require you to be in a particular location, possibly because the scope of work will require you to maybe do certain things, maybe West Africa, maybe particularly, maybe you have to do something in Ghana. And so they would want to know where you reside, even the proximity wise. Like I said, most organizations are now warming up to the hybrid system. And so for the employer, maybe they need you to be closer to the office for commuting time to reduce. And so they may be, but hardly would it matter in the decision to hire you or not. Once you have the requisite skills, I believe some of those locations would be overlooked.
If I may ask, what about tax issues where you're doing a remote job, you live outside the country where the company resides? How does tax affect you? How do they go on to tax you, or is that an advantage where you may not be taxed at all because you're doing a remote job, and so on and so forth? But I would want lawyer opinion to attempt this, please.
You mean remote work and what that means for taxation?
Yes.
I think the governments have been the governments in both countries have been very creative. What I mean by both countries is your home country and then the other country you work, your employer comes from. Let's say you get a job that is outside the shores of Ghana. They have a way to track it. GRA now has a way to track it. So first of all, if you get a job, the employer in that foreign country will tell you that they will, because you don't have the work and resident permits in that employer's country, you will obviously be paid in Ghana. Like they will transfer the money to your Ghana account. In the past, it wasn't tracked. So what they were doing was when you go to the bank, the money will get sent. When you go to the bank, and I'm sure most of us can share our experiences, but if you go to the bank and somebody has sent you money or some money has dropped in your account, then they will ask you, where did you get the money from? Then you have to now find a justification, right? But these days, what GRA has done is that any money all the money that are coming outside the country passes through Bank of Ghana. And so they have a way of checking through the various job portals like Upwork and which the number of Ghanaians that are working from there. And they have actually required further details of the transaction. So the person paying you can put on there that it's in relation to a work you are doing. If they find it that way, then they have a way of taxing you. So that bring those in accounting, I'm sure, the incidence of double taxation. Are you taxed in Ghana and taxed in the foreign country also, and so on and so forth? The truth is that there is what we call a double taxation agreement with Ghana and other countries. So Ghana has a double taxation agreement with the UK, South Africa, and so on and so forth. So if you get a job offshore, let's say in South Africa or say UK, they will tax you. That one you can't dodge. But when it comes to Ghana, and let's say Bank of Ghana wants to help GRA to tax you further, you can show proof that you've already been taxed. That income has already been taxed so that you don't get taxed twice. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, you've answered me. However, still don't have the person's name, but the person who asked the question on the residential address being checked for the one who is working remotely is saying that this is with regards to company assets entrusted, into the employee's hands, or something like that. So if you can.
Oh, okay, I get that. So that one has got to do with, let's say, if I get a person correctly, say I work remotely, a company has sent me, let's say, laptops. In my case, I have a standby generator, an inverter, sorry, and all of that belongs to the company. They might not give it to you at first instance, but as you work with them and you build trust, then you request for those additional things and they give to you. In those situations where maybe the company is not in Ghana, how do they get their thing back in case you quit the job or something happens? Yeah, there's a way, so you go through a whole criminal check, background check. Anybody that is hiring you offshore will require you to go through a criminal background check. That's the first test to make sure that you don't have any previous history of any of these things we are talking about. Once you go through that, your information gets lodged at the criminal investigation department. You understand? So it is our country architecture that will build a profile of you. Then you go ahead and you get hired. So anytime they are looking for you and they can't find you, when they go to the CID place, they will find you easily. And these days, it's even easier. I can sit in my house and go to MTN, and if I know Yvonne's number, I can just go to MTN and say, where is Yvonne at this point? As long as your phone or your SIM card is connected to a mast, the mast will show the closest, the MTN, all the SIM cards we are using, it is giving us a connection based on the closest mast to you, right? So even if they can't find you, they will ring fence you using some of these things like your number, going to the telco, and the CID people will do all of that. So it's easy to find someone. That's why it is easy for the police service to find people whenever they do something wrong.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So on diversity and inclusion, how can organizations ensure they are fostering diverse and inclusive workplaces in the future? How can organizations ensure they are fostering diverse and inclusive workplaces in the future? Mrs. Hartley, please.
Okay, so I would say for this, it will be a deliberate focus in order to ensure that, for instance, as an organization, you should have policies on diversity and inclusion. And in your recruitment, for instance, there should be targeted approach. For instance, in Ghana, we know that mostly the rural areas are mostly marginalized. So in your recruitment, you should deliberately want to look out for people in these remote areas in your hiring process, such that without that, unfortunately, there will be unconscious biases. Some come from maybe the recruitment, the interviewers who may want to, but to eliminate all that, you have to deliberately ensure that the representation of CVs that you receive, you are consciously, for instance, you are recruiting a role that you may not necessarily need the person to be in Accra, look out for other remote areas that have people who have these skills and give them the room and opportunity to. And your policies mainly, most organizations unconsciously, their policies are biased towards a particular race, a particular gender, a particular community. Or even there was a time we were recruiting for a company that insisted that they only wanted graduates from Ashesi University, for instance. So some of those biases would have to be dealt with deliberately right from the beginning in the recruitment process, so that in your organization you have a wide representation of people from various backgrounds and origins. Yeah.
Thank you. Ashasi. They seem to be doing something right. Anyway, I'll do a follow-up question. I'm a musician, and most jobs are not advertised to favor us. What contributions can we make? Oh, okay. What contributions can be made to make musicians visible? This is from Wisdom Pray. Ms. Ali, do you get the question, please?
Yes, I get the question. So I read that question. I think what first came to mind was he should consider creating an online presence, because many musicians now, they have side gigs. And so if you create the online presence, you optimize LinkedIn, you have platforms, blog posts that would market your skills. And then I think that you already are in the space there for people to reach out to you. So that would be a key step I would advise that he should do. He should create an online presence.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if I'm to add,
yes, please.
I'm very, very interested in that career, because mostly, apart from the big artists that will blow, people maybe in our unis don't come across as, oh, I'm a professional musician and things like that. So just like we are talking about, like strict gigs, like maybe hardcore professional, like accounting and all of that. When you go into the aspect of music, apart from building an online presence, having a huge following and things like that, you have to also take advantage of these streaming platforms. All the publicity you are making is for people to go and listen to your song on that streaming platform. So even without having maybe a producer or an executive producer and things like that, you now can be your own, producer and executive. But once you have your song and you want people to go and listen to it, the streaming platforms, like Boomplay, Apple Music, all of that, they will pay you directly once you have the profile and then you upload your music and things out there. And then what Yvonne is saying is that once you have done all of that on that streaming platform, make sure that maybe you hop onto Twitter. TikTok is now a popular platform for entertainers. Make sure that you are visible out there. And I'll add finally that, see, some jobs go hand in hand. So you realize that the songs that trend, they use the dancers, isn't it? So that's why the Afronitas and Dance God, Lloyd and all of them have become popular. So maybe say Kwame Eugene releases a song, then they know to team up with one of maybe a dancing group or one of the dancers to maybe make a skit about it or make a dance move about it, and then it trends. So once the video is trending, it trends with the song, and that is what will get people to listen to it, and so on and so forth. But sometimes we just want to sit in our individual space. We want all the money to come to us. We don't want to collaborate with anybody. That becomes a bit difficult. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope Wisdom has been satisfactorily answered. Of course, he has, and I hope he's satisfied with the answer. So we'll move to the next question, or the next set of questions, and this is on the future of work's impact on MSMEs. I believe that's micro, small, and medium enterprises. So question is, how will these changes impact micro, small, and medium enterprises specifically? How will these changes impact micro, small, and medium enterprises specifically? I'll go back to Kennedy, please.
In one sentence, we are in a survival of the fittest world more than ever. So you will be a small or a medium entity. Remember, you are not an a monopoly, sorry. You are not a monopoly. So take, let's say, Alibaba, for instance, and take, let's say, Amazon. That are very large multinational goods providers. Then you take our own, say, Jumia. That is only in the African sub-region. How can, say, Jumia compete with these giants? So that is, I'm just using the popular name so that all of us see what I am saying to be in a context. So take any business as that, and provided that business is an SME, I'm saying that there's a bigger competitor out there. The world we are in right now is such that if you don't do your things well, cut down costs, streamline your operations and be efficient, then your customers will go to your competitor more than ever. That is what we are seeing, because if I'm supposed to order something from you, or I'm supposed to buy something from you, and the cost of production makes the price of your goods or service more expensive than somebody that can get it to me, I'd rather go to that person than you. So I see an opportunity with hybrid and remote work for SMEs. You can cut down your rent cost. For me, if you are not a manufacturing entity, and let's say you are a service firm, you have no business paying rent to keep an office space, especially if you are having to rent in Accra, if you are having to rent in Kumasi, if you are having to rent in Takoradi. When the rent, I saw an article that said that rent in Accra has gone up 700% since 2014. That's 10 years ago. So if the price of your produce or the price of your services are the same, or in order to keep the prices competitive, you need to ensure that you are cutting back on certain costs. So remote work will help you as a service provider cut down on your rent, cut down on electricity, cut down on maybe office furniture and all of those things they know they need, so that you focus on maybe resourcing your employees with maybe computers, with maybe data support, like you purchase data for them as part of their compensation package and so on and so forth. And that will be an avenue for you to, the cost of you going to rent a space and keeping it and paying rent far exceeds the infrastructure that we are advocating that you must have as an SME to remote or to work remotely. But with those that are in the business of producing goods, you have to look at which aspect of your business does not require people to come to the office. Are you with me? Versus which aspect of the business require people to come to the office. So those that do not require to come to the office, if they all come, your electricity bill goes up, water in the office, the cost will go up, and so on and so forth. So is it okay for you to sort of like work out those that do not require or that do not have to come to the office, so that that cost reduces? Some people, if we are to be blunt, some people like myself, if I were doing a physical job and you tell me that because I'm no longer commuting to the office, you will make me work from home and you cut my salary by 20%, I will take it. Any day, I will take it, because the fuel you purchase, the traffic you will sit in and all of that. And all of it has got to do with you, the employer, being reasonable and speaking with your employee, not as somebody who will give a take it or leave it offer, but somebody that is reasoning with them as to how best you as an SME can, compete by cutting down your costs and remaining efficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I would also want to quickly add to that as well.
Please do.
Okay, so and I mean, as an SME, you can equally also leverage on technology to reach a larger audience. I mean, a larger market. Yeah, so maybe you are a business in Accra. You could use online presence to reach a client or customer somewhere in the north. And so, and even in your customer service, there are a lot of AI tools now that can send even automated messages to your customers. You sell out a product, the AI tool will reach out to the customer. I mean, send personalized text messages. How was the product? Feedback. So there's a lot of leverage you can use as an SME in the side of technology. And also you could equally partner with larger firms and organizations as well to maybe get support and grants in order to scale up. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. What strategies can MSMEs implement to stay competitive in the future landscape of work? Mrs. Ahli, please.
I would reiterate it that it will be digital transformation, basically. So you need to build a lot of strong digital presence and digital education. I think that there's a lot of training that needs to be done in that light, because a lot of people are still not warming up to the fact that technology has come to stay. And so as SMEs, you need to invest a lot in digital transformation, your processes, your systems. You need to find a way, like I asked earlier, 20 years down the line, the way you are doing your work now, would you still be doing it that way? And so you need to leverage a lot of technology and automation in your processes. So for instance, you may not, cashiers, for instance, you may not need cashiers because most people may be using card or systems to pay. And once you automate your systems, it makes it even faster. And so I think that will be key for SMEs.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think you, in fact, if this was a traditional lecture, we would be giving you a resounding round of applause. Our guests have been very helpful in dissecting the subject matter. And for all of them who also chipped in, Odelia and Co, thank you very much. Before I go on, I want to acknowledge two persons, in fact, three people, and then we would give some opportunity to our partners, employers present here, to tell us what they expect when people come over to, you know, seek for a job or, you know, their CVs and all that. I have a couple of questions for them as well. So if you're an employer and you're present here, you're part of our list of partners. The next set of questions will be going to you. It would be complemented by our guests. So these acknowledgements follows. So we have Dr. Miles Christian Hagan, head of e-banking, head of e-banking, UMB Bank. Dr. Miles Christian Hagan, head of e-banking, UMB Bank. Thank you very much for having you, Doc. We also have Charles Wondengba. Charles Wondengba is a strategic communication expert and a climate activist. He is also a social media influencer. He is one of our very, very close partners. Welcome, Charles, and good to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So to our partners, let's look at a few questions we've put together for you. And hopefully participants, young graduates present here, will be able to know exactly what to expect when they are applying for a job.
Could you try again?
Okay.
Okay, and let me know if there's anything else I can help you with.
I've not called Siri, and Siri seems to be all right. So if we have Bliss Spa, I'm having feedback.
You are blessed, Don Kuyima.
Thank you very much, my boss. I have a question for you. So, what are some of the common skills or qualities that you found to be lacking in candidates? And how can one demonstrate these skills? You can take a minute to tell us what you do and then answer us, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone who is present at this summit. It's a privilege to be here. My name is Dr. Michael Yao-Jan, and I am the CEO of Bless Spa and Aesthetics. So basically, we are into lifestyle and wellness. We have a spa, we have an aesthetic clinic and all that. So we are actually looking at the future of beauty. So basically, to straight to the question you asked, when we were growing up in school, I think that right from JSS in our social studies and stuff like that, we were taught about entrepreneurship, and we were taught that one of the barriers to establishing a business, or one of the hurdles that we have to come across, is access to finance, access to capital. But I would say that being an entrepreneur, I have come to understand that getting the right people for the job is much more difficult than access to finance. It is easier to access capital. It is easier to access a grant or access money to start your own business than to hire the right people. There are a lot of people out there who will say that we don't have jobs to do, we need jobs and stuff like that. And when you bring them on board, you realize that no, those who are saying that they need jobs, they actually do not need jobs. There are people out there whose main focus is maybe to have some kind of soft life and stuff like that. But I would say that one of the mistakes that we make is we misclassify people. And right from our advertisement, let's take it that we place a job ad there that, oh, maybe I need somebody to fill in the position of a manager, I need someone to fill in the position of a digital marketer and all that. We make mistakes right from that point. So in interviews and stuff like that, we are quick. We are quick to choose, or we are quick to decide on people who have got good CVs. We are very quick to decide on people who are very eloquent, who seem to be convincing at interviews. But when you bring those people on, you realize that they are not able to fit into the organizational culture. And the main reason is that we do not communicate the organizational culture to these people before they come in. So one of the difficulties I have encountered is bringing people on board. You pay them so much and they are not able to fit into the culture of the organization. So let's take it that if we are looking for people to say, okay, I have a job and maybe I need somebody to work for me remotely. There are people who say, okay, I don't need much supervision, I don't need this, I don't need that, I can work from home, I can do that. But they do not have that kind of personal discipline. You know, the personal discipline to work remotely is not there. So I think that as entrepreneurs, when we are recruiting or when we are looking for people to fill in major positions in our organization, one of the major things we have to look out for is people who can fit into the culture. We can get people who have the degrees, who are very convincing, who have been to the best schools. But when they come on board, you realize that their personal cultures is not in alignment with the organizational cultures. And these are systems that we need to be able to put in place to make sure that those who are coming on board will be able to fit into the culture of the organization. Thank you. Please, I can see you talking, but I'm not sure I can hear you.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much, Doc. It's a joy to hear from you. Indeed, that was insightful. Thank you. So my next question, we have a fast track tutor Fast Track Tutor rep here. So oh my goodness. So this is the question, and any of our partners can help us answer. Dr. Miles, Charles, and anybody who is an employer can help us answer this. How do you prioritize skills versus experience in the hiring process? Do we have Odelia, please? Okay. All right, I think I'll go back to Mrs. Ahili.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. So the question again.
So the question is, how do you prioritize skills versus experience in the hiring process?
Okay. So mostly we say that employers would hire you for your skills, but they will also train you. And so in skills versus experience, it's mostly based on the job in question. And so what I've seen over the years is, so for instance, there are technical roles, like maybe a civil engineer we are hiring, and it requires, let's say, a minimum of 15 years experience. The seniority level depends on the scope of work and the task at hand. And so when we look at the task at hand,
okay.
If you can mute Richard. Okay. So if you look at the task at hand and the scope of work, and with the scope of work, you have someone who has all the skills and can also be able to do this job without having the experience, we would mostly go for that person and do an in-service training as well to bring the person to. So I'll say that mostly it's 50-50, but depending on some roles, for instance, are senior roles. And so in those jobs, we definitely be looking for experience beyond the skills, because looking at Dr. Michael was saying, the culture of the organization and the people the person will be working with maybe requires that level of experience. And I see a lot of job seekers fighting, how do I get, you advertise a job or you want someone with 10 years experience. If you don't hire me now, how would I be able to get the experience? But I believe that it all begins right after school with the small internship opportunities you gather. People looking out for work now, if you offer them internship opportunities and all that, they are outrightly looking for jobs that will pay them very high. But I think that as a job seeker, you can also leverage on this internship to also build the experience as well as the skills, because definitely you'll be hired for your experience, but if you don't also have the skills, you may not last in those jobs. And like I said, once you are in the job, definitely you would be trained for the technical skills, but there are soft skills as well. There are soft skills as well that you'd also need to build, like emotional intelligence, adaptability, your ability to communicate effectively, and even your ability to fit into the culture of the organization are all skills that you'd also need, which experience may also not even provide you. You may have 10 years experience, but if you don't really have the skills. So I would say it's a blend of the two, really.
A blend of the two. Thank you very much, Mrs. Akli. So the next question, it's how does your company approach innovation and staying ahead of industry trends And what skills are required to support that? Again, any of our partners can help us answer that, please. How does your company approach innovation and staying ahead of industry trends? And what skills are required to support that? Do we have Quest Medical Imaging rep here? Okay, we'll probably go back to Dr. Jan.
Yes. So one of the very things is that as a business or as an entrepreneur, you don't have to be a village champion. And as part of your budget for the year or stuff like that, one of the things you have to do is to make budget for research and development. And in business, one of the things that I will see is that it is not a crime to copy. It is not a crime at all to copy. In whichever business you are in as much as you are striving to do your best, you should know that there are other people in the same space as you are. So even though you may be a giant or even though you may be bigger than a business, you have to be humble enough to also learn from others. You have to know what others are doing. And one of the things is that mostly we travel and we see other things, but when we come home, we fail to implement them. It's like sometimes we have politicians talking about what is going on in other countries and stuff like that, but in their own countries, they are not able to implement those kind of things. So when you see somebody doing something in business, when you see somebody, you see your competitor doing something, what you have to do is that you just have to try as much as possible. If you have to copy, or if there is a need to copy, if there is a need to, let's say, study some kind of principles from what somebody is doing and adding to yours, that's great. It's like when we have these ride apps and stuff like that, Uber, Yango, and all those kind of things. It is the same thing. They tend to learn from each other. It is like the banks. You realize that somebody is doing a promotion and the person is, let's take it that, acquiring some customers. You realize that another bank also comes in to do something that is similar. So as a business person, as an entrepreneur, you have to have an open mind. You have to have a very open mind to be able to embrace whatever comes your way. Thank you.
Thank you very much once again, Dr. Jan. So I think at this stage, we're gradually drawing the curtains to come to the end of our webinar. But I would want to allow Dr. Miles and Uncle Charles to take turns in helping us with their view on the subject matter, please. So Dr. Miles, if you're ready, please feel free to speak to us. Dr. Miles?
Okay. Hi. Good.
Hello. Welcome.
Afternoon.
Again,
I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you, sir.
All right. Great. Yeah, so very insightful discussion. And I think I also picked a few very good nuggets, which I'm adding to my portfolio of knowledge. Yeah, so I think in a nutshell, what I want to share is these things are to encourage all of us to build up our knowledge and capacity in whichever chosen field of endeavor we are in. So if you find yourself in technology, try to maximize the knowledge as much as possible. So aim to be the best in that area, try and learn new things. The benefit of this generation is the availability of knowledge, where you don't need to even pay, but you can just go to the right platform, check the right information. Virtually every book, every article is available online some way, somehow. So just try and tap into that. And most importantly, every company is looking out for the very best. So try and then build up your competence, try and then strengthen any loopholes you have. We are all not perfect. So as you are developing yourself in your chosen field of endeavor, try and then see what more do I need to learn, what more do I need to add up to what I know, and then try and then build your network so that if people get to know that you are the best in this area, you are not just maximizing that potential, but you are also making yourself marketable, and then it will take us to the next level. So let's try and then keep that in our belt, and I'm very, very sure we'll keep rising to the very top, which is where we all belong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miles Christian Hagen. He is indeed one of our partners, has been very helpful. Thank you very much. And head of e-banking UMB, head of e-banking UMB Bank. Okay, so do we have my brother Charles?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you very much.
All right. So what I want to add is that, most of our experts have spoken on the power of social media and how we can take advantage of that too. Jacob also came in with even the linking aspect. But what I want to add is that we should also be very consistent when it comes to our profiles on all our social media platforms. If you are on Facebook, you are on LinkedIn, you are on Instagram, let your profile be consistent. What one profile says you are or you can do, let it apply to all the other profiles. I remember there was one time that I was contacted by a very powerful international tech company, and they said they wanted to do a documentary and they wanted me to be the host in that documentary in Ghana here. And I asked them how they were able to reach out or get my contact. They said they checked on X and they realized I was a and they realized I was a climate activist and also a blogger. And they say, okay, then this is a perfect person that we need for this job. So if you are consistent on all platforms, they can check on all the other platforms to see or to make sure that what you are claiming you are actually applies to all your other profiles. Even if possible, if you have the same profile picture for all your profile, it wouldn't be bad. But some people decide to choose different profile pictures for Facebook and LinkedIn due to the difference in audience. And also, we need to be mindful of what we do post every day on social media platforms. Our post indicates our interest, our biases, and what we believe, our values. So if we give a certain description in our profile that is what we are, then it must also go with what we post, the kind of conversations, the groups that you are even interacting with. Yes, can give a clue as to whether you are what you are claiming that you are. And also, you've spoken so much about soft skills, and that's also one area that we need to be very much, we need to develop a lot of interest in. These days, because there are a lot of areas to learn new skills, it has given this generation a lot of advantage. I think Dr. just mentioned that. So any skill that we can learn, I learned website development on my own by watching videos on YouTube and the rest, and then into graphic designing. And these days, if you look at how things are going, even Canva and other social and other platforms allows you to even design your own images or your own flyers and posters. Someone might even think that you are an expert in that area, whilst you are not. So let's take advantage of these platforms too, and then develop a lot of the soft skills, because you don't know which one will be required by which employer and at which time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. God richly bless you, Uncle Charles. He's a big man. Okay. So we currently have, I believe he'll be the last person to speak. That's if Odelia is off, like I think. So Richard Oti is with Fast Track Tutors. and he would also speak to us for the next 2 minutes as we come to the end of the program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. My name is Richard Oti, and I am an associate lecturer with the University of Education, Winneba, Odell Unit. I am with Fast Track Tutors as one of their lead researchers. And I must say I've been following the discussions keenly, and as researchers, I may want to dwell on the gaps and bring something new on board. Personally, for me, when it comes to what we do at Fast Track Tutors, which is research-based, I always believe that as employees, we've all had a level of education. And to me, when you look at education in its entirety, it has to do with the acquisition of knowledge, values, skills, and attitude. And considering our discussions here extensively has dwelled on knowledge and skills. So I wouldn't want to make it more saturated. I want to dwell on the other aspect of our education, that's attitudes and values. So at Fast Track Tutors, aside from the skills and knowledge we've spoken extensively, for instance, if you want to be a researcher, you may want to equip yourself with data analysis, skills in data analysis, your writing skills, your communication skills. We also pay much attention to the other variables in education, that's attitudes and values. Because when it comes to what we do, we deal more with people. So if you look at our educational framework, little has been said on values and attitude. I want to talk about a theory called modernization theory. And this theory says that all the developed countries we've seen are countries that have invested so much in values and attitude. So if you go to Japan, one of the things they brag of is their values and attitude. So if you want to survive in any company, your values and your attitude, and which encompasses the soft skills we've already spoken of. So if you want to work in a company that Fast Track Tutors, you really need to be humble. You really need to be teachable. You really need to deal with your anger issues. You really need to know how to talk and communicate. Emotionally, you need to be very intelligent. And above all, you need to be very respectful. I believe you can be a very good medical doctor, but with poor conflict management skills, no one will want to work with you. If you can be a very good lawyer, but if you are quick-tempered, no one wants to work with you. So in as much as we've had a saturated discussion on skills and other competencies that will let us survive in a workspace, I believe paying so much attention to values and attitude that encompasses our educational framework. Because when you look at the definition of education, you can't take away values and attitude. So I want to highlight that as my speech and contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard Oti. Thank you. That was from Fast Track Tutors. And like I said earlier, for all your research work, for help with your project work, dissertation, whatever it is, Fast Track Tutors is the go-to people. I think at this stage, I would want to thank everybody for making it to our webinar, our maiden webinar. We're grateful for your support, for all of them who, am I seeing there are some segments where, okay, I thought I was seeing a question. So yes, for all who have supported us to get to this point, a very big thank you. I would want to especially thank our guests or panelists, Dr. Lawyer Kennedy Apenyi, and then Mrs. Yvonne Ashley. Would also want to thank all our supporters and their partners, Dr. Jan, Dr. Miles, Charles, and all others who have been of great support to this. Odelia was with us earlier. Thank you very much for your help, Odelia. I would also want to thank the team back at Jobs by Us, and of course, our CEO for making this happen. We're very grateful for making this time. But before I conclude, I think it's very important that for all the young graduates and unemployed who are here, who are looking for jobs, please get on jobsbyus.com. It's one word, Jobs by Us, JOBS bybus.com and get yourself a job, because there's so many jobs waiting there for you. We also want to let those of you who are asking for our guest contacts to know that we'll be putting those contacts subsequently on our WhatsApp page. That shouldn't be a problem. So thank you so much. If your question wasn't answered, don't worry, we'll be on the page to continue with our discussions. God richly bless you all, and thank you for your time. From here at Jobs by Us, we say thank you, and have a good day. I'll please ask that our guests remain on, our panelists, and the Jobs by Us team, please.